What's up YouTube, this is Harvey 1997 here, coming at you today with some pro tips and combos from a few cards in Maximum Crisis. So first and foremost, I want to retract my video that I uploaded earlier today. I made a video while I was on my college campus computer, basically saying I'm not going to be uploading videos for a little while, my computer's broken, I have no way to get them on the internet, yada yada yada. I don't have a smartphone for those who didn't know that. So, however, one of my best friends, JD, shoutouts to you if you're watching this, he loaned me one of his laptops, so I'm able to give you guys the quality content that you so desire, right? Okay, so again, I just wanted to say thanks to him, and moving on past that, for the time being, I do have his laptop to work on. Will I have it forever? Probably not. But I'm going to keep you guys posted on how that goes, and if I get my new computer, so on and so forth, or if I get the other one fixed. So, what I want to discuss today is the Supreme King archetype. For those who follow Arc 5, or those who don't, you'll know that the Supreme Kings were released in the final, or I guess not really final arc of Arc 5, but like the thing before the very end of it. What I call the climax of the series, because the last like 8 episodes were bad. So these were based on the boss monster Supreme King Zark, as well as a few support cards. We don't have all the archetype yet. It's not going to be released until Code of the Duelist, when we get a couple more, like we get 4 spells and traps, I believe, as well as a revamped versions with Supreme King Servant in the name of Odd Eyes, Starving Venom, Dark Rebellion, and Clearwing. They're ridiculous, but they're, that's kind of to be expected from what they are. We're not discussing those though, and we're also not going over Zark. He is irrelevant in this video. I like him. I'm working on a deck profile specifically to turbo out Zark as fast as I can, using a dedicated build with his Supreme King cards and not the Magicians, because that's kind of boring. I like the Magicians. I'm probably going to play that when they come out, and for like the month it'll be available. But I want to do a dedicated Supreme King deck in the most pure way possible. That's also not what we're discussing today, though. What we're going to go over are a couple of the Pendulum monsters for the Zark archetype. The main deck Pendulum monsters, and not the Odd Eyes one. So, for starters, we have the 2 Supreme King Gates, 0 and Infinity. For those who don't know this already, these have a scale of 0 and 13, as in Pendulum Summon 1 through 12. That's pretty good, right? Actually, though, Infinity, the 13 scale, does have a downside where if you control a monster, you can't Pendulum Summon. So, get out of here. Okay, I do actually love the card, though. As I said, I'm working on my own deck for him. But he's not part of the discussion today. We're going to be going over the 0 gate, as well as their Stratos, Supreme King Dragon Dark Worm. So, how do they work? Supreme King Dragon Dark Worm, we'll go over him first. If he's normal summoned or special summoned, you can add a Supreme King Gate Pendulum monster from your deck to your hand. If this card is in your graveyard and you control no monsters, you can special summon this card. You can only use each monster effect of Supreme King Dragon Dark Worm once per turn, but you can use them both in the same turn should that come up. So, oh, and he's also a level 4 1800 attack, so that's pretty good. His scale effect is what's big, though. Once per turn, if you control no monsters, you can place 1 Supreme King Gate Pendulum monster from your deck in your Pendulum Zone. Also, you cannot Pendulum Summon monsters for the rest of this turn except Dark monsters. So you can only summon Darks that turn, but you get to place one of the 2 gates in your Pendulum Zone. Now, you could place Infinity in your Pendulum Zone, and you can have a scale from 5 to 13, which for the right deck is, that's pretty good. But, I don't know. The problem with that is the fact that Infinity says you can't control any monsters in order to Pendulum, like, if you control a monster, you cannot Pendulum Summon. This effect cannot be negated. But 0 doesn't quite have that downside. Oh, and I guess I should also note, 0 and Infinity are both level 7 Dark 0/0 Fiends. 0, Supreme King Gate 0, has the monster effect. Once per turn, you can target another face-up card you control, destroy both it and this card, and if you do, special summon 1 Dragon-type Fusion or Synchro from your extra, but its attack and defense becomes 0, it has its effect negated. Also, it cannot be used as a material for a Synchro or Xyz summon. Okay, and Infinity also does the same thing, except it summons a Xyz or Pendulum from the extra deck. Again, he's not quite as useful in that aspect either. And if this card in the monster zone is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can place this card in your Pendulum zone. So that's all like little niche stuff there. I especially like the ability to recur it into the Pendulum zone if it's destroyed. But here's the big kicker. If you control Supreme King's Zark, you take no damage. Not that part of the Pendulum effect. Once per turn, if you have Supreme King Gate Infinity in your other Pendulum zone, you can destroy both cards in your Pendulum zones. And if you do, add 1 Polymerization spell or Fusion spell card from your deck to your hand. That's also not the important part. But that's the end of the text on the card. So what's important? Well, if you look at Infinity, if you control a monster that you cannot Pendulum summon, this effect cannot be negated. That's a pretty big downside. For scale 0, what's the downside? There isn't one. It's not there. It's just not. So, I was watching a deck profile the other day, where someone was playing Dark Worm in a dedicated build, and they said, he's the Stratos. You normal summon him, search one of the 2 gates. That's really all he does. You never play him in the scale. But I was thinking about it, and I think this is really, really good in the right decks, if you can figure out what to play them in. His ability to place the other, place 0 or Infinity in the other scale, so you can play Dark Worm, and then from the deck, activate 0. You have a 1 card 0 to 5 Pendulum scale. That's really, really good. Like, if you're playing any deck that can use that mechanic, it's probably a dark deck. Doesn't necessarily have to be, that's probably the case. That's all you gotta do. It doesn't restrict the things you summon from the extra deck or monsters you control, nothing. Just for that 1 turn, you can only Pendulum summon dark monsters. And then that's the only restriction. You know how like Monkey Board has the scale effect of if you don't have a Perform Pal on your other scale, its scale becomes 4? 0 doesn't have that. Or any other things. You know how Scout says you can't Pendulum, or you can't special summon except Cleaforts? 0 and Dark Worm don't have that. They're completely generic past that 1 turn dark restriction. It just blows my mind. It's so easy. If you play the right deck, some examples I can think of off the top of my head would be something like Black Wings, for example, where you could probably play like 3 copies of him and then probably 1 to 2 zeros. You can play him kind of like a Brilliant Fusion Engine, where it's just like, slap this down as 1 card, then you, from the deck, get to activate the other for free. What's not to like? Suddenly you have a 0 to 5 Pendulum scale, and you can just vomit all of your monsters onto the field, just for free. They do any ridiculous abilities in the Pendulum scale? No, they do not. A good example would be something like, Cliffort Scout has the once per turn search. Doesn't have that. It's more, their Pendulum effects are more for like if you're playing the dedicated deck. But nonetheless, a 0 to 5 scale with 1 card that's completely generic is really, really good. You guys tell me in the comments section below what you guys think about this little 2-card engine here with Supreme King Gate 0 and Supreme King Dragon Dark Worm, who's actually not a worm, he's a dragon. So as I said, you guys tell me in the comment section below what you think about these cards. Do you think they're good, bad, think they're going to see any play, not see any play? I definitely don't think they're going to be a competitive thing, but I think it could breathe lots of life into some rogue decks. And I know that's what a lot of players like to play. As I said, a good example would be something like Black Wings, where you can just throw these in and suddenly you have scales. really any deck that can use level 1 to 4 dark monsters. There's a lot of that out there, I guarantee it. So, as I said, you guys tell me in the comment section below what you think about these cards. As always, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for all my future content, and I'll catch you in my next video.